Okay, week 4. We'll be talking about Israel and the Palestinians and Palestine. Kind of continuation of the background for the Middle East, because the Israelis and the Palestinians are major players in the history of the Middle East. And so we're going to be talking about the terrorism that the Palestinians inflict on the Israelis, and also the terrorism that the Israelis inflict on the Palestinians and the other Arab countries surrounding Israel. If you remember in the prerequisite course, the foundational course, Homeland Security 350, that the Arabs constantly complain about Israel's disproportionate response to the Arabs' terrorist activities. The Arabs throw a couple rockets that don't hit anything. The Israelis respond with tank and fire and very well placed rocket fire and troops. And the proportion of the Israeli damage and death and injuries inflicted on the Arabs who instigated the original terrorist act is disproportional to the original attack. And so it's a very interesting situation between Israel and Palestine. But we'll learn about also Yasser Arafat, who back in the 60s created Fatah, which is a group that advocated for the homeland of the Palestinians, and that also advocated for the destruction of Israel. And Fatah also split off, and actually another group was created at the same time, or a few years later, the Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO. And these two organizations, both of them were run by Yasser Arafat, were the original anti-Israel terrorist groups, and they were all both deemed as terrorist groups back in the 1960s. But we'll learn some history about that. We'll learn about the factional groups that have arisen in the Palestinian camp, as well as some in the Israeli camp. And we'll learn about the origins of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PIJ, a current terrorist group operating out of Gaza and the Palestine areas. Then, of course, we'll concentrate on southern Lebanon and Lebanon constantly attacking Israel from Israel's north. And the Hezbollah group, funded and a lot of times manned by the Iranians, and the Iranians pledged annihilation of Israel as well. That's from the north. And of course, the Palestinians in Gaza Strip is in the south. And early on, back in the 60s and early 70s, Egypt was involved in the attempted destruction of Israel as well as Syria as we speak. And Jordan at one time was also trying to destroy Israel. However, Jordan moderated, and King Hussein, King Abdullah is a moderate and is accepting the presence of Israel in the Middle East. So that's on the western borders of Israel. Then we'll learn some of the things going on in the Gaza Strip and the Palestinian areas. The Intifada, which created or came from that, is Hamas, which generally is the group and the government that is running the Gaza Strip as we speak. Now, Hamas, once again, is deemed a terrorist organization by the United States. And they continually, in fact, just last week, when the United States and Israel moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, Hamas and the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip protested. Many were killed. Once again, claimed as a disproportionate response by Israel to the Palestinians. And this goes on constantly. So we'll talk about that and the efforts to control Palestinian behavior. And if you speak with any Palestinian advocates, they'll tell you that it's not their fault, it's Israel's fault. You talk to Israelis, it's not Israelis' fault, it's the Palestinians' fault. And it just goes back and forth, and it's been this way for many, many years. Israel was created in 1947 and 1948, and since that time, Israel has never been at peace. And we'll examine some of those issues. So this is week 4. This will blend into week 5 because the Israeli-Palestinian issue is so extensive, and there's so much material that it's going to be a 2-week presentation of the Israel and Palestine situation. So we're going to study both of them for the next 2 weeks. If you have any questions, give me a holler. Make sure you read your assignments and get your work in on time.